Hello, and welcome to another episode of Power On Podcast. Oh boy, I need to figure something. My Funny Bebop. There we go. We'll go with that.
Oh boy, Bebop.
Yeah. Oh boy, Bebop. Oh by golly gee. I am one of your hosts, Taylor, and with me is the valuable. I was going to say invaluable, but both works.
As valuable as Boardwalk? Or
Yes.
Park Place?
Yes. Both combined.
The electric company? I'll take Waterworks.
Oh no. Don't want all four railroads?
I don't even know if I could tell you all. I'm reading.
Okay.
It's been a long time since.
Oh,
jeez. Reading is always the one.
Reading is the only one I remember too. So
wow, we really got to go have a match of Monopoly, I guess.
Oh yeah, totally.
Wasn't one of them like 2 letters? It was like XO or something?
No.
Railroad?
No.
I can't remember. It's been a long time since I played. Some of the names just always kind of really stuck with you, but other ones don't.
Right.
Kentucky Avenue.
I always remember the
Baltic
PC,
Avenue.
the old PC version. So the first two, Baltic and is it Kentucky?
Mediterranean?
No, it's not Kentucky. Mediterranean, yeah. Those first two are really bad, and so when you go to buy them, they're like these little rundown shacks, and on it, instead of saying for sale, it says for sell.
Welcome to hell.
Oh boy. So, but yeah, this is episode 15, My Funny Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a Faye-centric episode.
Yes, finally.
It's nice, right? It's finally one that's Faye-centric. That's like not her fibbing about her past.
Right.
So,
being, what did she call herself before? Like some kind of Italian aristocrat or something, was it? Or
a Romany was
right.
She said she was a Romany, like a gypsy. So yeah. What are some things you like in this episode?
Well, I'll say I really like that Faye finally gets an opportunity to kind of be showcased. I think that's been long overdue.
Mm.
It's nice that she was a bit of a mystery and so forth, and just kind of a playful character in a lot of ways. But she's kind of also, for as capable as Faye is, they keep kind of putting her into a lot of those damsel in distress type scenarios. More often than she probably needs to be. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to just kind of get a little more of her backstory and just kind of see her wrestle with this large reveal and try to kind of conceal some of it from the crewmates. But then, because she's such a flaky personality and hard to trust because she's constantly changing like a chameleon, that when she finally tries to admit something, no one can believe her. So it makes for an interesting dynamic for the character.
Yeah, because she's spilling her past to Ein, who has no interest in hearing this.
Right. And
come to find out, Spike's been in the bathroom. I like his line when she asks, like, "How long you been listening?" And he's like, "Long enough. You need to change some parts of your story."
Right.
And just that, just this indignant look that he has, where he's just like, I don't believe a single word of this.
Right. And reasonably so. She hasn't been forthright with them more often than not. And they kind of only keep her around because she's of some use. So, yeah. How about you?
Let's see. I like that we get this big focus on her, and that I think part of it's also that there is this facade of competency to her.
Mm-hmm.
She tries to mask her, in a way it's naivete, but it's also just ignorance of a lot of things by just this sort of prickly demeanor at times. And rightfully so. Like, here's somebody who has, before Whitney, Haggis, Matsumoto, what a name, before he pops up again. Here's somebody who she was on some level of intimacy involved with, after having like this very catastrophic thing happen, that she is now waking up 53 years later. Yeah, it's nice to have that, and then to kind of see, oh, this is why. Like, we tend to forget that she's what, like 23, I think, 24.
She's like 23, 24 now, but
right.
But she was 20 when this happens.
Yeah, and so she'd be like, and someone 23, 24. But Spike's 27, Jet's 36 or something. But it's 24, but it's like a completely just not, like, there's a big arrested development, and that's not necessarily because of her personality, but more of just something happening to her, kind of thing. And it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense as to why she is this sort of fake bravado in a lot of ways and stuff. So it is nice to get that insight.
Yep, for sure. I like the swerve of this episode, right? You feel, well, at least I did. I felt, no one can imagine what it would be like to wake up after that kind of time frame, and sort of the sense of loss of time, as well as just the sense of loss of everything else, because it's not even her name. She's been given that name, and she really doesn't have a good idea of who she is. So, and just the range of emotions in that first chunk, right, of all that pain from waking up and finding out very little still about herself, and even to this day. And then someone showing that interest in her, and she's so incredibly vulnerable at that point. So, and I like that we kind of get to see that about Faye, and as you said, it helps build that wall for her as within that 2, 3, 4 year span, as for whatever age she is at now. But it's interesting to see the type of person she probably was, and that she probably was a pretty caring person, still relatively innocent. And to see...
Well, you'll definitely see it later.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see it in an episode here, not too far away.
Yep, but this is just like that initial idea of like showing how she's getting to the point that she's at now. And so I like that, and it's kind of sad. This person probably, we don't know her accident and everything, but like she's turned cruel. She's become kind of cruel in a way, but not of her own choice, right? Like, her circumstances have done this to her.
And it's
she's in survival mode now.
Right, because she's just been abused by people taking advantage of her. I mean, the one line about, like, how can you revive me and expect me to pay this?
Right.
Like, that's a very understandable mentality to have. It's like, you're gonna do this, and then all of a sudden be like, oh, don't forget, you owe us $30 million. We take that nice crisp bills, and it's like, what?
Right. Wasn't that 300 million?
Well, no, it was 30 million, but because of all of the interest and everything,
Oh,
it ends up
okay.
ballooning out to
Yep.
like 300 million and stuff like that.
Right,
So
right. Yep. Yep.
and it's just like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Something I also really liked was that how the music's playing and it's fostering up this sense of love and just kind of getting acclimated to the world she's in now.
Mm-hmm.
It stops when the music stops suddenly when there's the crash, and it just kind of jostles you out of it. I really like that little. I mean, it's not like a super amazing sort of sneaky cut kind of thing, but I like that touch. It was a nice touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the whole sort of setup and section there of this. It's interesting to see like some moment of joy for this character, because there just really hasn't been, right? She's just on the run all the time and making ends meet more or less. So for her to kind of have a little bit of a win at that one point, no matter how small it was, is good. And yeah, I think the whole sort of romantic scenario is kind of out of line with everything else, but I like the change.
Mm.
And like the car chase scene totally just feels like any 80s anime. Like driving on the highway and stuff when the things are chasing them down and stuff.
Just need some synth in there somewhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's how to put it? Okay. It's nice to have all this different kind of information that's really yeah, I know I've said it before, but just it really helps kind of finally fill in this character. We got it with Jet finally, and 5 episodes later we really get it with Faye here. And then like the other characters that have still yet to get theirs, in particular like Ed and Spikes,
Mm-hmm.
they both of theirs punch differently. So it's kind of interesting that the ones that get their backstories filled out to some degree are the ones that are like earlier in the series,
Mm-hmm.
and they also hit in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that it does it for like all of them, but like I don't know, with Faye's and Jets, maybe it's because it happens in the middle of the series. It just feels a little bit more fuller in a way.
Okay.
I guess I don't know how to put it. I like all of their kind of reveals of that sort of thing, to certain degrees, but maybe not fuller is the word I want to use, but at least more warmth to it, or something. I'm not 100% certain how I want to phrase it. But
Yeah, okay.
it's nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I also like the I'm just trying to think of what that part is.
With that, what?
Well, just like kind of some of the play between Spike and Faye, particularly here.
Okay.
Just because Spike still is pretty dismissive of her,
Mm-hmm.
but I almost feel like he's kind of doubting himself. Like I think he's almost, it's not quite sympathy for her, but kind of like maybe she isn't kind of lying on some of this stuff finally. But
At
not,
least I think at
it's not
the
like
end.
yeah, like at the end, like he's not completely buying in still. I think because he doesn't.
Mm.
He's a hard character to understand when it comes to these relationships to some degree, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it just kind of feels like there's at least a little bit of a okay, like she's but it's weird, like because then he starts chasing her, and it's like is he just doing this as a tease to her? Like it is a bit odd, like the way it kind of plays out. But like the very end, you're kind of like, oh, okay, maybe he's kind of showing a little bit of character development here, not a ton, but And,
Yeah, I
and
think
a little is more than nothing for this character.
right. I think that with the chase, it's more of the bounty getting away, quote unquote.
Right.
So
Okay.
I don't know if there's much in the way of subtext, as opposed to, hey, Jet caught the guy. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Which kind of goes against the traditional play in the series, right? Where like we've seen Faye do this kind of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't let the bounty go away. So it's kind of a bit of a flip flop where she's kind of usually the one that's a little more eager, I suppose, to just cash in a bounty.
Now, is there? I was gonna say that little dogfight. I do like it. It was nice to see some back and forth between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else in the good pile?
I think I'm pretty good there.
Okay. Is there anything in the middling to bad pile that you?
Not overtly.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I kind of throw back into the good pile a bit, like some of Jet's lines here, but like the old flame and stuff like that is kind of amusing, just because we went through a bit of an arc with him a bit earlier.
Right.
So that I thought that was kind of amusing. Like, is he trying to be that sort of what's that the kind of sage advice sort of
Well, I wouldn't
not
say
exactly,
that,
but
just, I think it's him kind of being a little jaded
Mm-hmm.
about how it's like, oh yeah, these kind of women, this is the first thing they do, or they go back, old flame comes back in, and then all of a sudden they're who they were when they were with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe he is jaded because that didn't work out for him. So
could be. I mean,
yeah.
But she wasn't. She and Faye are not. Lisa and Faith or Faye are not the. They're not similar kind of women. So
right. No, they are not. So, and I'm gonna guess their backstory is not quite the same either.
Probably not.
Yeah, I would say the doctor is kind of. Like, it's not bad, but it is kind of weird that he just kind of pops up at the end and.
Oh, I think that's intended.
Yeah, I know. It's just kind of like it's been like this whole seeming relation with Matsumoto.
Oh, being his uncle,
seemingly,
nephew.
Yeah. But then I'm kind of like, they're such con artists. Is that the truth? Like, I'm not sure. So, like his whole, I got fat implants or whatever. It's just kind of weird too.
Yeah, it's a bit silly. I don't know what the the spiel with that's supposed to be.
Weird. The whole Sleeping Beauty hook again. I don't hate it, but I'm kind of like, and the kind of weirdness of Faye sort of falling into that, but trying to act like she doesn't care. So, I mean, it's kind of nice because it kind of gives us a bit of that mystery of like, is she really falling back for this? Is she not? Like, obviously at the beginning, she clearly did, and makes sense, right? Like, she coming out of that cryo sleep and everything. Yeah, like I would imagine she's emotionally quite, I wouldn't necessarily unstable, but she's in flux, right? Like, yeah, she's very in flux. So, but yeah, it's kind of like, she still, yeah, I don't know. I would like to think Faye is hard enough to just be like, yeah, whatever. But the way she kind of smirks at the end, like, I don't think she would give in necessarily, but she likes the attention, as I think you said in a few previous episodes, that she's not really getting. So you can pull that string on her a little bit.
Yeah, definitely see that. It's like after so long, and whatnot, to have even somebody like Whitney to say it. It's like, oh, it's nice that finally somebody said it.
Right. And had he still looked handsome, would Faye have maybe fallen for it a little bit more than his current appearance? I don't know. Because she like maybe remember him as he was, kind of thing, a little bit.
Right.
So, yeah. Did you have anything?
I'm kind of with you on the whole Bacchus, doctor aspect. He's just kind of, it's like, okay, all right. It's just weird how what's the through line to get him from where he was to where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. You're like, okay, I get that they're now conning and trying to save their nephew from being whatever, but it's just like, okay.
This doesn't get solved any further, does it? Like, these characters don't come back, as far as
correct.
So that's kind of an unfortunate miss here too. Of, I know he named Faye, and maybe he doesn't quite know, but he must have some kind of records on her or something. Like, I feel like he must have had, like he could have obtained something about her and kind of hold it over her.
Yeah, because they just like, hey, you would have thought, but then in the same hand, what what it's alluding to, and what he mentions about the gate accident. I mean, that's where they go with, hey, there was just so much devastation from it,
mm-hmm.
that somehow it caused this to happen.
But it's still just weird. Like, how would he come in possession of Faye being in this cryo sleep?
Right.
Like that's from, like, did somebody, is he like a second generation of somebody that had started this process with her, and now he's trying to con her? And it just seems like there could have been a bit more to unravel perhaps later.
My theory, if I was to throw something out there, is that probably to con her, because being put into that, being a part of stuff that would have been some hoity-toity, have a lot of money sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That something happened to where, like, they were at least able to, like, confiscate assets or whatnot to afford a sizable chunk, and so, maybe the thinking is, oh well, once she comes to, there'll be more money to be had,
right,
sort of thing. So, and then, he could have had more documents. It could have been that somehow the gate accident just kind of buggered up all of that.
Mm-hmm. And maybe because, like, if he didn't have an inclination to the idea that she'd have more assets, he's really wasting his time.
True. Well, I mean, just being in that, though, I guess there could have been just word of mouth of, hey, these people were loaded. Like, give it time. They'll get you money.
Right. Yeah, it's possible. But, yeah. Again, didn't work out for him now either, though, right? Like, it's
nope.
Like, if you got this person in there and then you're waking them up and then you're like, oh yeah, just so you know, you owe us 300 million oolongs, and then you find out this person's broke, and it's like, whoa, we just spent X amount of time trying to revive this person for nothing. So
cool, great, wonderful.
Yep.
So. Yeah, but that's what I got. You have anything else you wanna?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So on to the bounty then. You were going to lead the charge on these, right?
Yeah, I can. So I think we were just discussing before this. We were at what, 300,029,980 oolongs? Is that right?
Yeah, I think for
because we combined Whitney's with the cost of Faye's revival.
Yeah, right.
Since he dumped that debt on her.
Yep.
Her reaction in that is quite good too, right? How she, like when she flips the table and just like her face as it's twitching and turns kind of purple.
You're right.
Because we've seen that face a few times from Faye, that sort of that buildup of anger.
About to break.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's our target here.
All right. So I would give this one a flat even 400 million. I actually really enjoy this episode. I think it is a very strong episode, and it's great to get a bit more backstory for Faye's character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not disjointed. It's a pretty easy to follow story that's not overly trying to make itself silly and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So,
yep. I am putting a few more chips on the table than you. I'm actually going with 500 million oolongs.
Ooh, oh boy.
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. And it finally gives you something to care about for Faye, because I remember the first time watching through this series, I wouldn't say despised Faye, but I really disliked the character until we get to those couple of episodes that finally give us some of the backstory. Mm-hmm. And obviously this being one of them, so it finally gives me something to care about for this character, because I'm fine with carefree characters and so forth, but she just didn't have that one likable quality really until getting to this point.
Yeah.
So and like otherwise, like I said, she's the damsel in distress in episode 5. She's the damsel in distress in episode 12 to 13. Like, you know, and I'm like, Faye is really relatively capable of working her way out of a lot of these things. So it's kind of silly that she's constantly, you know, needing Spike to rescue her or whatever. So, but yeah, it's nice to finally hang the hat on learning more about her, and she's not quite as over the top. Like she still is, but a lot of the other episodes, I feel like she's a lot more. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So 500.
All right, nice. So, that's it. Is there anything else you want to add, or?
You know, I can't remember if there's any quotes from this one specifically that I liked. I mean, the Spike one is good that you had already brought up earlier. Yeah, nothing else was coming to mind. I didn't end up jotting one down because nothing really kind of struck me.
Yeah. Only one other one that I can think of is at the end when Spike's like, "Oh, why are you worried about your past when you have like, it doesn't matter about the past, you have a future." And it's like, that's really rich coming from you, Spike.
Yeah, really
rich.
Yeah.
And it does, and I'm glad it gets brought back up. It's nice that there's a callback to that later on in the series. Mm-hmm. So, and I appreciate that, but it's just like really rich coming from you.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. If you've seen this episode and wish to give your own feedback and whatnot, and let us know how rightly or wrongly we were in assessing this wonderful Bebop episode. For Sushi Bee and myself, thanks for listening to all that fun jazz, and see you, Space Cowboy.